Hello, I'm Nathan. Thanks for being here. Introducing What the Fuck Do I Know? Season 1, Episode 6. Decided to call this one Chronicles Within Breath. It's a much different episode than any of our past episodes in the past. Ended up being a conversation with me and Jasmine, Lady Thoth, and really had the intention of bringing Jasmine on to have a detailed conversation. She's experiencing, I'm going to be real, she's experiencing the path of navigating through what we call the non-traditional and traditional medicine world, dealing with some health stuff that she's a brilliant healing person, and is really brilliant at herbs and natural healing practices and whatnot. But she's definitely going through a period where she's having to do that walk through what we call the traditional medicinal practices, the doctors, the medication, the scans, the everything with what she's walking right now. And I really have always been, that's just a subject that it's so personal to all of our lives, right? The confusion between what to do, between, what can often feel like the poisons of the pharmaceutical companies and the poisons and the disempowering feelings of walking through the healthcare system, with all the synthetic medications and the compartmentalized spaces that don't seem to talk to each other and work together as a whole system, and really try and open up a conversation in this space, just a real, honest conversation about navigating through those systems. And really, a phrase came to mind today as I was deciding to do this intro: interdependent conversational reflection. Just decided to let this conversation breathe. It was a noisy week, to be real. Our lives are so full of noise. And it's a conversation that feels like many spaces that this kind of conversation has is filled with noise, even just with the here's more information, where we're putting these places where we don't know what to do, how to navigate through it, and realizing that so much of that not even knowing how to navigate through it sometimes is even just the massive download of information and contradictory information and information that doesn't seem to vibe with each other. But I really fully believe all of this is always symbiotic, right? So it felt important to have this conversation. And honestly, Jasmine and I were walking through a space before we decided to record this episode this weekend, where really didn't have clarity on how to have the conversation, what the conversation should be, where to go with the conversation, all of that. So really, I just want to share the real, raw, full episode. Like more and more, it feels to me, so many of these podcast spaces, so many of these social media spaces, and the more we use these AI tools to help us build and put this stuff out and create, it feels like this constant need, this constant desire to, I'm going to call it, streamline it, skim the fat, like get rid of pauses, get rid of like the stuff that seems like it shouldn't be a part of the conversation. Like AI oftentimes determines for us what parts of the conversation just could be edited out, with the interest of tightening it up, making it shorter, to help cater to the attention span of humans in this current world state that we live. And the more I see and observe that, and the more I've even experienced it as someone who started this format recently in the last 6 months, even feeling the pressure myself to edit, to shorten it up, to try and make it, thinking through that production mind version of this space, where what's going to make this more hearable, so what's going to help it be received from others watching it, because I genuinely would love people to see this and experience this conversation. But it feels antithetical to the energy of the space and the energy of the point of the conversation to do all of that. So decided just to let it be exactly as it is. We talk about things like empowerment and medical choices and navigating through like the hybrid experience of, all of our personal lives mixing together in the energies of the traditional and the non-traditional medicines, and the experience of walking the walk of our attempts to hybrid our healthcare and our sense of health in our own personal lives, trusting ourselves and trusting our choices, reprogramming the concept of codependency with the community into interdependency. And so how much of our world is pushed into independence, and the lost community interdependency energy that truly is so supportive for all of us with everything that all of this navigation of this experience of our lives. And the role of medical systems with mental health is part of the discussion too. And just revisiting community support and the vulnerability of accepting community support, which brings me to on that subject, I'm going to also share with you one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation with Jasmine, Lady Thoth, is she is navigating through some very tough experiences in her experience of health in her life. And it's so often disempowering to express yourself from that subject in the space of, and one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation, and that we invited her onto the show to have this conversation, is to be real about the conversation, but also because she's in a tough spot. I'm going to be real. And it would be helpful. I mean, she has a GoFundMe, to be real. So she's in a very tight spot and navigating through very tough healthcare stuff. The deets aren't important in this context here with my introduction, but she's she's clearly, if you watch the episode and see kind of where we go with the conversation, she's truly incredible who she is, and her perspective is so valuable, and how she shares her perspective and her personal experience through this world of confusion is also so beautiful. And here we go. Just gonna be honest, it's a long, no rush conversation. Much respect to all of you that make the choice to watch this amazing and be with this amazing conversation. And I would also invite you, in the moments of our breath throughout this conversation, to also take a breath yourself if it feels right to you in context of this conversation. So here we go. What the fuck do I know? Season 1, Episode 6. Chronicles Within Breath. Discussion about navigating healthcare and the medical systems with Jasmine, Lady Thoth. Thanks for being here, friends and fam. Really appreciate you.
I might be good. We're just going to dive in. And I saw that right at 1:44 when I said that. Interesting. On my little countdown on my thing. What's funny is I have Jesus with me. He's sitting on the sun, and somehow he
Oh,
has
jeez.
turned on his own to face our conversation. That's interesting because I set
That's
up
awesome.
intentions and to bring a little extra energy and set up my own personal talisman, but I did also bring in some extra talismans just to help add for the healing feminine energy of this talk, to help bring light to this,
Mm-hmm.
to help bring just a little bit of the intention of bringing light to a situation that is difficult to speak on because of the stigmas that are around it, the judgments, and the modern westernized mindset that so many of us have been programmed with within these kinds of spaces, while also noticing the kind of fucked up aspects in these places. And so I made sure to set intentions. I called in upon the angels of healing, of light, of illumination, to help us be able to speak more into these spaces, and then just really set that intention with the cross that I was shown, and activation of the heart, and just really brought that energy in to be sort of to help kind of create a sort of pillar of light as we help to bring light into spaces that can sometimes appear to be a bit dark.
Beautiful. To be honest, though, I was just feeling like, because I know I don't. I need to say I talk closer. So beautiful, and I was going to ask you if you wanted to do sort of an intro thing, like as far as like, I guess I'm feeling. I just want to share with you. I'm feeling because I'm noticing. To be real, I'm noticing like a stirring happening. There's a stirring. There's a stirred up energy, right,
Mm-hmm.
in this space. We're entering a conversation that has a stir. There's a lot of stirring. And we're
Yes.
having this conversation a couple of days that something major happened in this country that's causing lots of stirring all over. Like it's helping, contributing to all of this stirring energy. The whole shooting thing with Charlie and stuff, and none of that's really here. That's not, that stuff has nothing to do with this space, except for the fact that the energy that we are having this conversation in worldwide right now is a very stirred up space.
Yes,
Right?
I
So
spoke of that in
yeah,
my oracle reading I did yesterday
right,
of this Aquarian era energy that's happening, where there are things that are being stirred up so that things can come to light, so we can finally see it for what it is and finally be like, you know what, we're done with this shit. We're done being separated.
right,
We're done being put into these individualized spaces, where it's like, no, everyone feels like they have to fend for themselves without any support, that they have to struggle and have to survive just to thrive. And we need to really bring light to these kinds of spaces in general, that Aquarian
right,
humanitarian energy of
right,
coming together, because we are all earthlings, we are all humans, we all share the same land, we all live under the same sky, and we all deserve the right to thrive and have our basic
mhm,
needs met, and we all deserve the right to have support and to be loved and to be seen and to be heard,
yeah,
without these borders, without this separation, without
right,
these agendas, and all of these different spaces. And so, yeah, it's like there is a massive stirring that is occurring in like all these different areas of politics, the medical stuff, all of it. It's just like it's so many different areas. It's like it's being stirred up, but the reason it's being stirred up is because it's sort of creating a preparation within the borders that have separated us for so long, and the light is beginning to seep through, where people can begin to really see, you know the light
right. So here's where,
shining
sorry
through.
to interrupt, my dear
Yeah,
friend.
let's go
I
ahead.
just want to say
Yeah, go ahead.
that this is one of my intentions. I've noticed I've had quite a couple last couple days in the experience of these stirred up energies, and a couple things I do want to respond. I'm keeping my eyes closed right now just to kind of
Yeah, I do the same
keep
thing.
in the center.
Yeah.
And I really, really, in the space of our conversation, I've noticed, because I've noticed in my space of my life too, reminding myself in the midst of all of these spaces, conversations, whatnot, to just also allow spaces for pauses in between. Very just pauses. And I would like to ask you, honestly, like I'm just noticing, first of all, sunshine is for everybody. One of my
Mm.
coworkers taught me that line. He says it in Spanish, and I wish I knew the Spanish version because it's so beautiful spoken in Spanish. I can't. I would totally hack it if I tried to say it. But sunshine is for everybody. I love
It
that.
is, and you know what? Just I
Yeah,
want to add
and
one thing
yeah,
to that
go ahead.
is that
Yep.
yesterday I spoke about that we all live under the same sun. So that's what I just wanted
Yeah.
to add.
I
Go
love how
ahead.
see. I love how stuff like that happens, right? For some reason, that came up today for me to say here, and that you basically sort of was speaking that same thing yesterday. I'm probably going to close my eyes a lot today as
Me
we
too.
speak
Me too.
and just breathe. And I'm going to close my eyes and breathe, and even maybe in between, or even I'll maybe notice spaces in between different subjects or whatever we chat about. Allow a moment of breath. Allow a moment of words are helpful. Words are necessary for us to communicate, but sometimes allowing ourselves to pause in the midst of the words allows for the clarity of the fundamental of the words to really kind of come through for me.
The heart connection.
That's what I'm asking for, I guess. That's what I'm putting out there. That's my intention, I guess I'm setting here. That I just want to breathe for a moment. Right? I don't know.
That breath allows for the heart connection and yeah, for the words to be felt in the fields and in our energy and for that heart connection, that heart space to really open to
And
what's being spoken of.
yeah, right. So true. And like, okay, we had a fair amount of conversation. Well, kind of a little bit, just sharing thoughts around the subject that we're bringing up today. And I have no clarity on format of the conversation. I have no. Realize I'm keep leaning as I close my eyes. I notice I go. And I get further away
You
from the
start to
microphone.
relax.
If only this microphone could go.
Could lean with you.
With me.
Maybe you could clip it onto your shirt so,
I
so
know
it can move with you.
some of those fancy podcaster people have those
Oh
cool little fluffy things
yeah.
that are clipped to their bodies, the little clippy things that look all fluffy and cool. Like it looks really honestly, they look like really comfortable little pillows. Like if it was big enough, I'd lay my
Or
head on
makeup
that.
brushes. To me, it looks like little makeup brushes.
Oh, all right. All right. So I guess I'd like to maybe take a moment since I'm honestly entering this conversation with not even clarity on where to begin.
Same.
So I kind of want to take a breath, and I would like to just maybe, if you're open to it, take a breath with me and just allow for whatever's going to begin, whatever's going to start to show itself in that peace, that stillness.
Mm. That there be an intention to give a voice to those who may be afraid to speak in these spaces due to the stigma, judgment, and just generalized discomfort of navigating such systems that can create a feeling of disempowerment if one goes in not knowing how to navigate these very complicated systems within our society. That in itself can create a level of fear just within oneself. Also, how we have been taught to give our power away to these medical systems as if we do not know our own body. And that in itself is also disempowering, but it keeps people feeling like, well, that doesn't feel right for me, yet this is what the doctor says, so I will continue to listen to the doctor instead of listening to the intuition within themselves of knowing that what is being said or spoken is not true for them.
Yeah, can we pause? Can we pause on that one? If you're okay, I'd like to pause with that one right there.
That's what I
Because that's
felt.
that. Yeah.
I felt I was going to pause for that moment.
Yeah. So I'm noticing, because it is that noticing that experience and being that experience, living that experience myself, and different. That's all of us have our own versions of these experiences, different gradations. Even though I don't really feel there's more. I mean, it's all different gradations of these experiences, and just noticing that confusion and fear of walking into those, walking back and forth between the what we call non-traditional and traditional medical practices or healthcare practices.
Mm. And it's
Honestly, I'm
fun.
just kind of sharing a moment of love and just, kind of sharing a big hug for everyone to walk in that confusion space and being in that experience that they're being.
Mm.
Because it's funny, there's a part of me that wants to dive into a logical conversation around what's the difference between traditional and non-traditional. Why do we call traditional non-traditional? But I'm like, wait. I do. I kind of enjoy that conversation, but I want to just like, wow, just sharing that moment of like, oh, it's all right, people. We got this. Whatever the fuck this is, we got this. However confusing, however complicated it feels, however disempowering, like you say, it feels. We got this.
Well, that it gives the perception of disempowerment. And it
Right?
is
Perception.
with, yeah, it is with, this is where we create space of allowing people to gain the knowledge and the research and the know-how of how to navigate these spaces in an empowered state. And knowing that they do not have to give away their power just because someone has a degree and they do not. For we know our bodies better than anyone else because we've lived in it all of our lives. And so, and remembering that our bodies are intelligent, living beings themselves. And our bodies will always know what is right for us and what isn't. And it will show it through nudges, through feelings, through even certain physical experiences, and just general intuition. Is this right for me? Is this not? And there's so much outside chatter that can cause certain people to doubt that inner voice. And so I guess it also comes to this place of learning how to tune out that chatter and tune in more into the space of the heart and really feeling what it is that feels right for you while also looking into anything you may be going through, looking into these spaces, doing research, looking into alternative methods, looking into what it is you might be dealing with so that you can gain that knowledge and that empowerment, the empowerment of knowledge to understand, okay, well, I do have options. I do have other ways in which I can proceed forward with this without only having this one way or have to listen to family or friends who are telling me to do something that does not feel right for me, and trying to overcome that sense of fear in a space that can be challenging to navigate, to learn how to trust in yourself and your ability to gain the knowledge you need to empower yourself to be empowered in these spaces. Because ultimately, this is the last thing I was going to add, and then we'll sit in it for a minute. Ultimately, when we do approach the modern medicine, the westernized medicine, the physicians and the staff really do work for us. And we have to remember that because we are paying them to help us in that sense. And people tend to forget that because of all the noise, the chatter, and all the different systems that have been built to create a sense of disempowerment and giving away your power to it.
Yeah, as you're saying all that, I keep hearing my mantra I love to share with my friends and family. I always trust you, trust yourself.
Mm.
And I feel like that's the best gift we can give those in our life that are going through these kind of confusing walks. Because it's okay. I know we're gonna sit for a bit, but I could have a quick response before
Oh, no, that's
that.
okay.
Yeah, that sharing that gift with those in our lives. I always trust you, trust in yourself.
Mm.
Like gives that gift to ourself as well. To trust ourselves as we walk through the confusion of trusting ourselves, right?
Yes, because we have been programmed to be confused in trusting ourselves. And this is where we begin the deprogramming of that program, the unlooping of that story. Mm.
And even in the space of trusting ourselves, when we make a choice, and even in the space of trusting others, trusting themselves as they make choices, where we may think, well, that didn't seem like the right choice. Just trusting that all our choices we make from that place, even if they end up going in directions where we're like, what the fuck? I trusted myself making this choice. What the fuck is this? That's honestly just the
Part of
perfect space to walk through that experience.
mm,
That's how we learn. We learn by trusting ourselves and walking the paths of trusting ourselves. Learning that those paths can sometimes, what the fuck? And then just trust ourselves in the next choice too, and trust the next choice, and then trust the next choice, and trusting that walk, you know, wow, there's so many lessons in those walks for us in so many different ways. So
there
many,
is. There is. And then the fact that, yeah, we're not always going to get it right. But as you said, that's how we learn. There's going to be times in any experience, not just in what we're speaking of now, but just in any experience where we may have felt something was right only to hit a wall or see it kind of do a turnaround, a turnabout, and in putting us in that state of, well, what the fuck? I thought this is what I was supposed to do. But then as you allow the trusting of that, okay, well, obviously this has happened for a reason. It showed me what it needed to show me. I learned what I needed to learn. And now I just need to trust the unfolding of what is occurring before me and where it is leading me to from having learned this experience now. And it also gives more empowerment as well when we do take time to really sit with it and learn from the wisdom of that experience. Because once we give ourselves the time to contemplate and really sit with it, we gain that wisdom, that knowledge to go forth in a different way, try a new way, and see if, well, maybe this will work better instead. And sometimes it can take a couple of times, but we just have to trust that we will find that way that will work for us, even if we do hit a couple of setbacks.
What the
Sometimes,
fuck?
right? I mean,
That feels
sometimes,
good spot for one of those.
yeah, because sometimes it's just like, yeah, that saying, you take a couple steps forward, and then you might take a step or two back. And just knowing that, sometimes those steps back are just allowing you that space to pause, to contemplate, to learn, and to just really see, okay, so where do I go from here? What other options, what other solutions are available to me? And, what knowledge that I gained from this can help me move forward in a direction that is more aligned for this space. Mm. Can I mention I feel like this very beautiful energy of support. It's just this massive flow of support as if it's moving through the core of my being, and it's this beautiful golden light, and feels very angelic, very Jesus like. I really feel him, and I feel I'm meant to speak on it. It was a nudge, but I just really feel this space of mentioning the support.
Can I ask, is there any part of that nudge that includes sharing that you're feeling with those that it may be helpful for in this space that we're sharing together? If it feels right, of course. Because
I,
sometimes what
I
we feel is just for us, and sometimes what we feel is also helpful to share.
no, it felt as soon as you said it, I felt stronger. It
Okay.
felt, it does feel this is coming through to let those who do find themselves in states of confusion, especially when navigating these spaces such as the medical field of, where there's the confusion and all of that, what we have spoken of, that when we in these spaces of uncertainty, we can literally ask for guidance, ask for help, because we are always being supported by those that are unseen, these forces that are unseen, and they will respond to the asking of, the intention of, the prayers of what clarity you are seeking. Just ask for guidance and they will help. Ask for guidance and they will show you a way. It may not be immediate, but it will make itself known within the right time. For you are always supported in these spaces, especially in times of challenge, in times that feel challenging or we perceive as challenging. That is when we are often receiving the most support from these systems, from these energies that surround us. Follow your
Thank you so
faith.
much for sharing. And thank you so much for sharing, Jasmine. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I just got the strong word of follow your faith.
Mm. Whatever that may be, it's different for
Yes.
everybody. Completely different for everybody. Always
Mm.
different for everybody.
Okay. Another nudge, if I may.
Definitely bring it, as I like to say. Bring it, my friend.
So, with the westernized stuff aside, we must remember that the original medicine of the people of the earth has always been and has always been a part of who we are, our DNA, our ancestors. And there is literally plants, a plant supports, I guess, a plant medicine, not in the psychedelic sense, not in the, let's get high sense. It's plant medicine as in herbs, fruits, vegetables, roots that have always been available to us. And we can find support in these systems that are now called alternative, though they were always the original way.
Or non-traditional.
Yeah, or non traditional, even though they actually are
What?
traditional.
Right.
Right? What the fuck, right?
It's one of my
The,
favorite contradictions, conundrums, or not conundrums, but contradictions we use in our world. Non-traditional medicine has only been around for 100 years, but traditional traditional's been around for 100 years. Non-traditional has been around for thousands of years.
Since the
Because that
beginning
makes
of all.
sense.
I
Because
know
that
since the
makes
beginning of the caveman, even, I mean,
right,
you
right.
can't
Since
get
the
more
evolution
traditional.
of humans were figuring out how to take care of themselves with what they had available to them, which is so
Exactly.
beautiful. God,
Exactly.
I'm
It
like
is
tearing up a
beautiful.
little bit. It's beautiful.
And
Seriously, tearing up.
and we
I
have
don't
to
even,
remember in these spaces of the, I'm going to call it traditional medicine, the plant medicine, the help from
amen.
this plant kingdom.
Let's make the shift. Thank you so much for making the shift. Using
Yes,
traditional in that way.
that not only has there been scientific proof wherever you live within 100 yards, if you allow your grass, your native plants to grow wherever you're living, it will always grow the things that your body needs. And I learned this personally before even knowing that this had been studied when I began to realize that my backyard, when I still lived in Beaumont, grew a plethora of medicinal plants and edible plants and all of this beautiful, and it just an incredible symphony of just like medicine and food. And I was like, if we literally all just let our backyards grow, we could just live off of that. We wouldn't even necessarily have to go to the store if we learn how to cultivate it and grow it in the right way. Because we even had tomatoes, natural tomatoes growing, grapes that were growing from the tree vines. We even had a native pumpkin began to grow, and just all of these incredible plants. And then the plants that were closest to my window, I found were the ones that were most supportive for my lupus symptoms when they were still very active before I went into remission. This was when I was beginning to really connect with the plant kingdom and realize that there is a consciousness within plants, that plants literally have consciousness, because we do have to remember that plants have been around since maybe even before humans. And so, as any natural organic thing is going to do, it will evolve. And it will evolve even in ways we may not always understand, but it will evolve. And given the fact that it is getting a source of life from the light, from the soil, from the water, from all of these elements that come together to create life, which also creates life within organic beings, we have to see that these plants truly are sentient, are alive, are conscious. And so in that knowing, and knowing that, we can then, as we begin to connect more with the consciousness of plants, not only do you realize there's a sort of telepathic resonance that begins to happen the more you work with a plant. Like for me, I would feel called. I would notice there would be plants that would stand out to me when I would let my backyard grow, much to the dismay of my neighbors. But I would let it grow because I wanted to see. I was like, what all can it produce? And there would be plants that would just stand out to me. And so I would go and I would pick a couple of them and I would bring them in and I would sit with it. I would, put it in a pot, put it in water, and sit with the energy of the plant, interact with it, open my heart to it, and just have it in my space. And in time, I began to build what felt like a relationship with it, even to the point that when I would go to reach towards some of these plants, it was as if they would move towards my hand. And it was really incredible. I even had a friend witness this as I went to go and reach, for a plant or to send energy to it. It moved towards my hand. And I was like, "Did you just see that?" And she was like, "Yes." And I was like, "That is incredible. That right there is speaking that even as this plant is hanging here," because there was a plant that was hanging and drying, that even as this plant is hanging here drying, it still is maintaining a consciousness of saying, "Hey, I am connected to you. We are all connected." And it just really highlighted just how we do have communication with this system around us, and that they want to support us because there is a level of consciousness that understands that we are all connected. We are all connected under the same sun, and for we all share the same sunlight. And it is within that same sunlight, within that same consciousness, that we can understand each other and support each other. And that these plants, they want to support us. And they will stand out to you. You will notice it. You will see it in a sea of tall grass, that one or two plant that just stands out to you, and that's because it's calling to you. And when you go and look it up, because there's apps now, where you can take a picture of the plant and identify it. If you don't know what it is, you will often find that it is medicinal or edible, and the majority of the time that plant that stood out to you will support whatever element or issue or anything that's going on with you, that it will support that and it's really incredible. And so
I love when you mentioned sunshine. The sunshine is for everybody. Popped into my head again. Like,
mm,
not just because for me, everybody doesn't just include people, right?
yes, everybody is everything that is on this planet, because this planet is a living,
Right.
breathing
Yeah.
being. Every single aspect of it is living and breathing. For all of it, all of us are earthlings in this space, in this realm. We all share the same consciousness, the same everything, without borders. All live under the same sky, the same sun, the sun which has helped give life to this planet in the first place.
Sunshine is for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm a background singer. I'm like the background singer. You're singing the melodies, and I'm like the the three ladies in the back of in the back of the stage. You know, sunshine is for everybody. Sunshine is for
Sunshine,
everybody.
sunshine.
Right, right.
Let that
Oh man,
sunshine.
we're about to write a song right now. This is awesome.
Right.
So beautiful. God, it's so amazing, isn't it?
It is. It
Ooh,
is.
like that story, like sharing what you're saying, so the plant was drying and so it is, I want to go back to that for a moment because I was like, wow, so the life force of that plant was just because it was in its drying state, is not losing its life force.
Mm-mm. It's still there. It's still
And when you
conscious.
eat that and ingest that in the way that it's meant to be helpful and supportive to you, that life force that's still there, even though it's dry. Almost like I almost imagined the sunshine is for everybody being the dehydrator of we'll call it the water, that's within that, the moisture. And then as we put it back into our bodies, it's like our bodies are the rehydrator of life force, which I mean, does that vibe energy flow with you? Does that make
Yes, yes, because when I was first really stepping into these spaces of learning my shamanic connection. That's what it really feels like, my shamanic connection to plants and plant life and the plant kingdom. I realize that we are literally ingesting sunlight every time we ingest or interact with the consciousness of these plants. We're just re-ingesting that sunlight, that consciousness, those photonic molecules. Because, you know, the photonic molecules, they contain information, which is itself consciousness. It contains data, which is itself consciousness, because consciousness is, in a sense, a form of data, you know, in many different ways. Of course, that's for a whole nother conversation, but we are re ingesting the sunlight that grew and invigorated and gave consciousness to this plant in the first place. Just going through that cycle of life, that spiral in a sense. It's like it's a cycle of life kind of thing. Ingesting the sunlight. Something about
so?
ingesting the sunlight.
I know, right? So I'm feeling called to share, interject, or ask a question around after my pause. that So here we are talking about this amazing, beautiful cycle of, say, just a simple example of picking an amazing herb from your backyard that you have confirmed for yourself that you know it definitely is not toxic to you. Very important.
Yes, make sure
Um,
first. Yeah,
yeah, right.
yes,
But
always,
yeah,
always research.
yeah,
Yes.
right. But that amazing cycle of we were just talking about the life force of the sun drying, helping dehydrate that, and then allowing our bodies to rehydrate it, with the purpose of supporting ourselves. That amazing, beautiful cycle we just spoke about. I'm actually feeling called. Is there a way we can apply that same energy, that same medicinal amazingly supportive practices in that amazing world that you know so incredibly, somehow allow that same amazing energy to also be present in what we call traditional, but it's actually non-traditional medicine. Say these scans, these medicines, these things that we ingest that we so often now see. I've noticed myself when I'm ingesting something, even as simple as like blood pressure medication or gout medication. Some of mine, the two of mine that I have right now in my life, I'm, I'm like, I have this like, oh, I don't want to take this pharmaceutical shit. And that's true, I don't. But it is also true that there is a path I'm walking to help myself not need those or have those, but on that path, not feeling that negative, oh, this shit is killing me. This shit is killing me. Feeling that so often is there. Like, it's hard not, it says, if you're someone who loves, is more into more trusting of the less, we'll call it the more ancient traditional stuff. And it's so easy to be so mistrustful of what we call traditional, but it's actually non-traditional medicine, right? But it is needed. It is part of the mix that we do need to support ourselves in the world, and allowing that energy to soften. Like, I'm just asking for that energy around the going to the lab coat doctors
Yes,
that can
yes.
be so conflicted to soften.
To soften it, because we also have to remember too that as sovereign beings of energy, that even if we do find ourselves in these spaces where we do have to take medicine to support us until we can maybe get to a place of where we no longer either need it, or just if it is something that may end up being lifelong, that when we go to take this medicine, that we can infuse it with blessing. We can bless it. We can infuse it with intention. We can infuse it with golden light, Reiki, and ask the medicine to please support our bodies in the best way possible without taking on any of the harmful side effects, and really sit with that with an open heart and feel that medicine being helpful for your body. And that practice every day in itself will put that intention into your field, into your body, into your cells, into everything, and make it to where this medicine that you may have to take will not be as harmful, but more helpful and more supportive. And then there's another side as well of, if we are feeling conflicted about taking specific medications and finding a bit of a fear, maybe that fear that we are feeling is an intuition of, why don't you look into something as that can help support this medication you have to take? Look into more natural supplements, more natural herbs, teas, fruits, vegetables, lifestyle changes that can help support you and keep you strong as you have to take this medication. Because, like, for instance, in the talk of blood pressure medicine, because some of it is can be pretty scary, those side effects. You read those side effects and it's like, oh my God, is this going to help me live or die? Like, what are we going to do? Well, I was in this space recently because when I went into remission, I was able to get off of my blood pressure medicine, and I was actually on a very low dose. But when my lupus relapsed, it affected my heart in such a way that I had to, and my blood pressure, that I had to get on a medication that combined both helpful, that was supposed to be helpful for the heart and the blood pressure medicine, but it was also made from something that was actually considered toxic to human consumption. And so I was like, oh my God, like, I don't even want to take this. I was terrified because I did my research into it. I research everything I take before I ingest anything. And so I was like, at first I was really hesitant because I was still in this space of like, trying to re-navigate into this space of westernized medicine that I had stepped away from because of the traumas I had experienced from my 10 years of lupus, before my remission. And so as I'm stepping back into this space, I had to go through the layers of healing the fears and the traumas, right? And so the blood pressure medicine was the first medicine, the heart medicine was the first medicine that I was prescribed. And I actually resisted taking it for 2 weeks, but I continued to have like massive chest pains and, blood pressure issues and this and that. And eventually, I just got to the point where I was like, I'm just going to try it, just to see, despite everything that I've read. And when I did, it actually took away my chest pain. It actually, I infused it with the light, the blessing, the, this is going to support me and help me and have none of the bad side effects, and really put that Reiki into it, that golden light. And it actually took away the chest pain that I had been having, for about a month or two at this point, by the time that I finally it was brave enough to take that medicine. And I was like, oh my goodness, I finally don't have chest pain. And so that opened up a new, sense of knowledge. And then I was like, okay, well, I also want to, not only rely just on this medicine. I want to look at what supports the blood vessels, the heart, um, blood pressure. And so, I knew of a few things. I knew of dates. I know beets, the nitric oxide of beets and beet powder. And so I, got me a powdered beetroot. I also got some beet juices, which is it's nasty, but it does its job. And of course, dates help with the strengthening of the heart. And then I also found cumin. In my research, I found cumin is amazing for blood pressure. And so I began putting cumin on my heart healthy foods I was eating, because I was eating like sweet potatoes with sauerkraut with all this, and olive oil.
Tacos,
And it sounds strange, but
tacos,
it was,
chili, chili tacos, tacos, chili. Sorry, you said
yeah,
cumin,
yeah,
and all my brain is going like,
yeah,
ooh, taco.
exactly. But
I want some chili right now for some reason. I really want some chili.
yeah, and it's so
Tacos.
fun. It's so funny because actually you really can make sweet potatoes are like the
Yeah.
best fucking
Yeah.
medium for Mexican flavored food. And it's
Mm.
incredible. Like you can
Mexican,
put
Mexican
it's
food.
so good when you put on all the different Mexican ingredients. It's so good. But of course I've gone down this path of sauerkraut, and people think it's strange, but for some reason I love it. I just love
It
my
does sound weird.
sauerkraut.
That
It
sounds
adds that.
weird AF. That is
Yeah,
totally weird AF,
it's
man.
everybody says that, but it adds that bit of vinegariness that creates an umami of flavor for me. And so, anyways, and it's also supportive
Mm.
of the heart, and
Yeah.
helps with
Man.
anti-cancer, supportive of the gut, all of that. And so that's another reason why I also have been eating it more, because I don't know, before I even got sick, I just started getting this feeling and urge to eat sauerkraut. And I was like, I don't know why, but I just want to eat sauerkraut. And then it was like about a month or so later, I started getting sick. And now I'm now in this moment as I'm speaking of it, I'm like, oh my God, that was my body saying, you need to start eating this now, because, it's going to be very supportive for you in the end. And so, because I used to avoid sauerkraut too. But besides the sauerkraut, which is also good for the heart and good for the blood pressure, I discovered
So
cumin.
weird.
And cumin is really amazing for blood pressure. And so I
Mm.
would put actually quite a bit on my my sweet potato with the olive oil, and some other heart healthy stuff. And I would put quite a bit. And whenever I would eat it, the cumin, it would literally make my blood pressure go down to where I didn't even have to take my blood pressure medicine. And I was like, this
Mm.
is incredible. And so I kept experimenting with it in other foods and other
Mm.
ways where I would just add extra cumin. And it would always make my blood pressure stay stabilized or go down if I was having a high blood pressure episode. And so now I'm feeling this call to buy a big bag of the high oil cumin, and get those little clear capsules, and put cumin in the capsules and start taking that and seeing if that in itself could become my own blood pressure medicine, to where I can get off of the one that was supporting me and helped
Wow.
with my chest pain in the beginning, so that I can, because the first that, the Western medicine
Evolve.
did help, but I don't want to be on that forever, of course. And so
Right.
I'm thinking, it's like when you do ingest a good amount of cumin, it seriously does drop, it helps bring your blood pressure
Cool.
back to healthy levels. It's incredible. And I was like, who would have thought? Who would have thought? And it's like, even though some of my dishes where I would put a little extra cumin would be a little bit like, oh God, okay, maybe that was a little
Okay.
too much cumin, but it always worked. And so I was like, okay, I'll tough it out. I'll tough it out for the sake of my health. And so
I'm
that's when I
feeling,
got the idea
amen.
of putting it in the capsule so that, you don't have
Beautiful.
to like
Well,
douse your food in cumin.
I'm feeling this amazing. I keep feeling this nudge to say something. So
Okay.
I'm going to say
Yes.
it. So
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm
Yes.
just doing the nudge around because everything we're talking, as we started kind of going down this part of our conversation about all the energy about when we're in moments when we have to actually use the modern day. I'm going to just go say the modern day medicine in
Mm.
combination with the stuff, other stuff that we like to, that we, and there's like this trust, don't trust, but use anyway. Trust, don't trust, but use anyway. Trust type dynamic going on, I feel. And even though I'm all Mr. like, I try to live in trust and faith that, and trust in all the time. I'm human. I'm fucking human. I have moments where I'm like, I don't trust this shit. Anyway, to go back to the point is that it's funny what you were saying kind of reminds me of a conversation I had earlier this week around the words codependency and interdependency. Codependency, interdependency, because I was navigating through just like the relationship experience of that. What's the difference between codependency and interdependency? Because I feel like so often this obsession of not trying to be in codependent type like situations with people in our lives has led to isolation.
Yes.
I don't want to get codependent, so I don't want to get in a codependent dynamic. Therefore, I'm just gonna isolate, get away from it. But especially in this modern day, like especially our Western concept of independence, we push independence so much, right? You gotta, which yeah, we have to be true to ourselves, which there is an independent energy to that, but we're all fucking doing this together, people. Like, pardon my fucking language, y'all. I don't even know why I say pardon my fucking language on the show anymore, but I still do. I can't help it. But interdependence. When you're saying, I love the beautiful story you just said around the blood pressure is a simple example. I love the simple example sometimes too, because it's easier for all of us to digest, right? Like, it's like you needed the blood pressure medication. You did. You went through that. You went through your own little process of, I don't want to get codependent on that shit. I don't want to take it. I don't want to be, and then you had the real, you softened. This is how I experienced and heard your story. So my experience of your story, that you softened, allowed yourself to take that medication when the nudges helped you soften that. Yeah, you need to do this. It is a need at that moment. But then in tandem, you were exploring many other things that would also help and explore. And one of my rubs with our current world is the exploration you did, as far as I'm concerned, would have been, it was beautifully perfect as it was. But I really have this vision that like it would be amazing to recreate or create a new system within the systems that are here, that are available to us, where that actually actively supports. So you have a support to walk into through the interdependence of all of these different tools. You know what I'm saying? Like instead of, I'm just going to figure out myself. But you did a great, beautiful job of figuring it out yourself. That was amazing. You walked the path of how you gonna work. I gotta walk through. If I saw it here, you walked this amazing path of
It's, well, my
learning the
path,
interdependence of it.
the
You
only,
used the medication when you needed it, and then learned a new, like, experimented, learned a new way, and allowed, and just didn't. Yeah, it's
exactly.
beautiful. Oh
And the
yeah.
reason I was able to reach that point is because I did go through, I gained knowledge from being in that disempowered state for that 10 years, right? And then finally coming
Mhm.
into a point of like, I'm sick of this, and taking the power into my hands to find how to heal myself without the need of Western medicine, and all that happened for all those years is what led me into this knowledge now that I'm having to navigate both sides, right?
Mm,
Now that I have to
yeah.
navigate both, yeah, like I actually do need some help from the Western side of medicine, but because of the fact that I, went through what I went through, the traumas I sustained, I learned a lot of knowledge from that and how to stay empowered, and being like, no, this is not right for me. And I will not take what you are saying, right? If I do not feel it is right for me, or let's look into this further in a different way, while also combining my knowledge of the traditional methods of healing as well. And so I'm coming from a place of knowledge and empowerment because I have walked that path. Um, and I hope that my story, the reason I wanted to share this is that I hope that my story will help others see that they do have a choice, that they do have the ability to make choices that are right for them, and that my story may inspire them to show that you don't have to go with just one way or the other, that there is a way that you can walk that middle line and overcome this stigma, that has been so prevalent within these systems, right? And
And the
speaking of,
stigma in the, I'm going to call it the healing communities too. There's stigma in the healing
yes,
communities, and
yes,
don't touch that shit. It's poison. Don't touch that shit. It's poison. Don't
yes,
touch that. It's a
yes.
mantra.
It
It's
is, and
just,
that's
ooh,
funny because when I said stigma, I was thank you for highlighting that, because I was meaning
man.
for both systems, because I've seen it on both sides as well, to where some people are just like, so I am not even going to go even anywhere near that at all, because I was one of those people too after the trauma I sustained from the COVID era. I was just like, fuck the Western medicine. I am just doing this on my own. And I did
Yeah.
actually really heal, as a result of that. But now I'm back in that space where it's like, okay, well, shit, I kind of need some of the Western medicine again. And so now I'm like back in a whole new learning space. I'm having to unlearn everything that I've learned to come to this place of interdependence, right? And then the stigma
Interdependence.
of codependence. I wanted to speak on that. See, Nathan, you keep bringing up things that I spoke about yesterday in my reading. It's so incredible because there is also this stigma within even the healing communities and just in westernized thought processes in general of victimhood, of people who are um, disempowered or lacking, or all of these kind of words, right? But in all reality, these people who are in these states, while yes, there can be, people who do, I guess, relish in, certain victimhoods or lacks, or, because they're just so used to that being their program, right? Um, there are a lot of people out there who really are just genuinely needing help, support, direction, love, to be seen, to be heard, and just some knowledge. And it's just, that's where we have to come into these spaces and be like, okay, these people, they're not acting out of victimhood. They're not acting out of lack. They're not being, acting out of disempowerment. It's just because they literally do not know how to navigate these spaces. And it is confusing, it is challenging, and it is slightly, fearful. especially because when we do go into these spaces, those of us who do develop health issues, we will have family and friends who will further add to that judgment, to that,
Yeah.
oh, you're just,
Everybody's got input. Everybody's got
yeah,
feedback.
everybody's got
Everybody's got
input.
their you should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that, or it's like, "Oh, you're not that sick," or, "Oh, you're too
Yeah.
young to be feeling this," or, "Oh, you're
Right.
just overreacting," and it's like,
Right.
"No, I'm not." It's like, I am literally having a very real experience for me. This is really happening, and I am just needing some support. And, of course, then there's that mindset of, "Well, you gotta do this on your own. You have to do this independently, all by yourself. You just got to carry that cross all on your own." And it's just like, being very social creatures that humans naturally are. It's like when we take on that mindset of we have to do this all by ourselves, that only further separates us. As you said, it just further adds to that separation. I don't know if it's an agenda, but that further of, like, of people feeling like, I don't even wanna ask for help because I don't wanna be seen in this negative light, or people being, sort of demonized in a sense. I don't know, just that's the best word I could think of, demonized in a sense for really just needing true help. And this is where we can look into systems of ancient times, and also a lot of indigenous communities where they all rely on each other as a village. They come together, they help each other, they support each other, and they do it with love and without judgment. And I'm sure, of course, there's, some, a little, differences here and there, but overall, the bigger picture is there is this huge communal support of people stepping in and helping each other when they truly need it, and not leaving individuals of their communities to feel alone, especially when they're navigating challenging times, or even, even in motherhood, for instance. It's like, if the mother needs a break, that village will step in and help with the children so the mother can do what she needs to do to come back to herself, or to, go and find herself and still keep who she is at the core of her being, that she can come back and be the better mother, have her cup full to be able to be the better woman, the better mother, the better person to herself, because she has been able to fulfill the self-love that she needed for herself, to be able to, extend this love out to those that she cares for, you know, but it goes in all ways. It's like, we have become so individualized in a sense that we have forgotten that we need community. We need support, and not all the time, not become dependent on it, but use it in an interdependent way, for where when we are experiencing the struggles or challenges, we can then reach out and not be afraid to ask for help when we truly, truly need it, where we don't feel like we're going to be judged or made to seem like, this or that, and just have all these negative opinions about us, where people are like, oh, okay, well, right now they're going through a hard time. I'm okay. I can help you. I can help you. And it's like, the more that we come together in this communal aspect, in this aspect of coming together as humans, without borders, without race, just as citizens of earth, just coming together as that village of that community, then we can really begin to heal on so many different levels. And people do not have to feel so isolated and so alone and so afraid anymore, because they know that they are supported and they are loved. And when they have that feeling of support and love, then they truly can thrive in those independent ways, in their passions, in what makes them them, you know, when they do have that underlying support to hold them up in times of challenge. Because, of course, we're not going to, life is life. We're not going to have a perfectly awesome life. 100% of the time where we don't ever need support at all. We got this all the time. We're going to have our moments of learning, of experience, of going through, these experiences of just growth, where we need a little support, where we need a friend, we need our community to help kind of hold us in a sense until we can stand on our own 2 feet again. And then from there, we can thrive and be even more independent in the ways that we need to be, that are supportive for ourselves and our own needs and our own self-love. Jesus,
All
man.
right. Hey, what's up, Jesus? What's up, JC? What's up, JC? Give a shout out to our boy JC. What's up, JC?
JC's in the house.
All
He's in
right.
the house.
Um, mm, um, so just really feeling there was something that just really hit that I was gonna, I'm just gonna pause because there was, and it's just it'll re-show if it's meant to show. I guess, yeah, I was going to say, I had an interesting couple feels around everything you were saying around, yeah, the needing when we do need help. And I had a moment where I did want to just kind of take a moment to pause and breathe and share love for both those that truly do need the support of those in their life, or whatever kind of support they're able to draw upon in their experience, or what they really are, the tough walks of this human experience that, so many are living. And also share love for those that are in the caretaking roles and allow for that energy. There's so many loved ones that are taking care of loved ones, or even those that are hired help for, that are in the caretaker role to help people that need help, or any of those, and allow that energy of interdependency to really just take a moment of pause and just sort of boost, allow, feel, activate that energy of interdependency in those spaces of caretaking,
Mm.
caretaker.
And also providing healing for the healers as well, the healing support for the healers too.
Because it's an interesting dynamic. Like, it's so important that for someone that's going to be that caretaker role for someone in their life that they may or may not even love or care for, maybe they, there's, my brain goes in all the different variations of that experience, right? But like, yes, especially caretakers that are taking care of others that are really going through some of the toughest human form experiences that they're going through, sickness, of all different types. That yes, caretakers do need to also take care of and support themselves in those contexts, and finding spaces where that experience of a caretaker being a caretaker taking care of themselves, finding ways, feeling ways to take care of themselves in context of what feels like a completely self-sacrificial of the JC story, like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, so often the JC story. Mm-hmm. Thank you, JC, for being here. Appreciate you so much.
Maybe that's why it came through. Yeah, the self-sacrifice.
I've resisted that story so much in my life, around, because I'm tired of falling on the cross, or falling on the sword, putting myself on the cross for others, and it can start to feel like there's many moments in my life I've done that. I tend to draw a step towards caretaker type situations, or caretaker type roles, and I've rejected the JC story to such a degree that I'm like, fuck no, I'm not going to do the self-sacrificial Jesus experience. But that's only the experience of Jesus that I noticed is one of the ones that is played out is in the versions of Christianity that I was raised in, and noticing that, holy shit, there's this whole other version of the Jesus Christ energy that is not in that space, that is more interdependent. That actually
Yes.
is not even, it's funny to even say more interdependent. That just is interdependence. And even to say interdependence, as I say that, it just is. There's just an is. That is that story. That is, doesn't involve any of the noise of the versions of the energy of the JC.
Yes, because he did
Yeah.
actually try to teach others that it was important for self-love, that the power is within us, that God is within us, that, you know, to lean on the power of love. And there are moments in his story, like if you follow the true historical account of this man, he would take time to go and learn things for himself, go to Egypt, take these travels, and it wasn't all self sacrificial. He even had his own passions and his own loves, and if in this context of even Mary Magdalene, he still even was human in the fact of, well, a human in as we perceive him to potentially be. Maybe he could be something else, we never know until, but the point being is he still had the human need for connection and for love, and also to take care of himself as well, and to follow what was true to his heart. And in a sense, that in itself too is a form of self-love. It wasn't all self-sacrifice. He didn't all do all this self-sacrifice for all the sinners of the world, as we've been taught. He was
I was
trying
just
to
thinking
show
about that.
people, yeah, the
Yeah.
stigma, yeah, and it was like,
That died for our sin, died for us type. I was thinking about that. Like
yeah,
maybe he died with us. Died with
yes,
us. Not for us, with us. And for those that disagree, follow your discernment, trust yourself. But this is just a little nudge I'm feeling that maybe the JC, the beautiful, I should the JC might even, that JC, Jesus, died with us, not for us.
mm,
Interdependently, not
yes.
not separately. Why? How could it possibly be a separate, an act, a separate? People experience it as, yeah, people really deeply feel the experience of Jesus. So how to experience that space of Jesus with that separation energy choice around him over there is so amazing. How it is that he died for us. Well, wait a minute, that's, you now are relating, connecting, vibrating. Your vibration is resonating with that energy. With your resonance is vibrating with the energy of Jesus.
Of putting him up on that pedestal too. It's like
Yeah.
when he really just wanted to be a part of the people as well, that
Mhm.
he was also of us. He was us as well. That's why he hung out with the prostitutes, the so-called sinners, the rebels, because he knew that they too were also people who just needed love, and to be reminded that they too are perfect as they are, and are powerful as they are, and also have God within themselves as well. That it was all love. It's like he, wanted to show all aspects of love in all areas that had been, you know, put into this stigma of, that's not right, that's wrong, that's sinful, you're going to go to hell for this. And he was trying to show people, no, no, you are human, you are perfect as you are, and you have God within you, and you are loved always. And it's a really, really beautiful, beautiful experience when you can take him down from that pedestal and see him as an equal, a person who just wanted to show people that we are all equal, and that we are all in this together. We are all in this shared experience together. And yes, there was a level of sacrifice to show that because of the stigmas and the, control that did exist in that time. Yeah, that will still exist in this time as well too, but it was a little bit more violent then, I suppose, more publicly violent. There was still some sacrifice in following his heart and following what his calling was, but he still also gave himself love as well because he knew the importance of self-love. That's why he was trying to teach others the importance of it as well, while also tending to himself and following his own passions as well in the midst of all of this. Because there's many parts of his story that we also have no idea about, that are lost in the sands of time.
Interdependence.
Yes.
I just want to say that word one more time.
I know, it
Maybe that
felt
word.
perfect.
Interdependence. Yeah.
Interdependence of the sunshine.
It's for everybody.
Yes. Softening the word of codependence, softening the word of victimhood, softening the words of lack and disempowerment, because they have become such a, people have clung to these words even in these alternative healing communities, these alternative spiritual communities, that people are really just not understanding. They're creating more of a separation and using this, oh, you're just playing in victimhood, oh, you're just playing in lack, or oh, you're just a narcissist. Like even the word narcissist, while there is true narcissism out there to varying degrees, um, we also have to understand that even these narcissists, maybe they are this way because they did not receive the love that they needed. They did not, were not seen, were not heard, were not valued, or were not cared for in the ways that they needed to be able to soften into being vulnerable. And so maybe that narcissism is a shield, is a protection for their own heart, so they no longer have to be hurt anymore. And so they put on this face of narcissism in a sense. And so,
So I'm asking to invite in spaces to share love with people in those spaces, as far as the hurt people type space, and the
yes,
space that's also not, that's shifting to the space of the Jesus Christ verse, or is not self-sacrificial. How to support people in our life that we may look at in these spaces, like feel that way, that feel, oh, this person's feels like they're hurting me in the ways that, which, yeah, I'm not saying put ourselves in ways that allow people to keep
hurting you. Yeah, no, yeah, of
hurting us,
course.
but I'm
Of
also just
course.
saying, like, allowing that space to be that trusting ourselves. I really do feel that's trusting ourselves in those spaces and acting upon that trust within ourselves, that the honest, full, true walk of trusting ourselves, which is also a walk of what do I really think, or how do I really feel? What's really going to self-support me in this moment of wanting to also help support this person that feels like they are fucking hurting me? I'm not
Yes,
saying stay in
yes,
abusive situations. I'm not
yes,
saying, like,
yes.
like,
Do
I'm
not,
saying, like,
yes. Yes,
just,
definitely. If it's, because you can't, when people who all do have this true narcissism and do act out in abuse and
mhm.
violence, there's usually they're at a point to where it is very difficult to reach them. So yes, of course, do not stay in those situations if you are being hurt, if you are being used, if you are being put in these situations that are disempowering you in a sense. But I guess the reason why I'm saying the softening of that word is
Yeah.
because, when we look at the bigger picture, it's like we have to understand that there's a reason why these people became this way. And even if we have to see it from a distance, to distance ourselves from them, get away from, how they're hurt, how that hurt person is hurting us, to still be able to soften it in a way of seeing that they became this way for a reason, and to still have love for who they are, but from a distance, with that healthy boundary still in place where they can no longer hurt us, but still also understanding that they are this way for a reason. And maybe even the whole topic of narcissism becoming such a big thing is coming up because it is also highlighting the need of how important it is that we start creating structures within our structures, restructuring the human structures of society, of creating more spaces where people who truly do need help are able to get that help, get that love, get that support, so they do not fall into this place of becoming unhelpable in a sense, or hard to get to, or where they're hurting others, you know, and to allow this just interdependence of a sense of community, of stepping in before it becomes, I don't want to say unfixable, but to a point to where it's hard to get to that person, or where they have taken this on as their identity, that there's just no breaking through, anymore to them. And so how can we start creating systems where we can allow systems of love, of interdependence, of support, to keep people from falling into that space of extreme protection to the point of them hurting others, just so that they don't feel like they have to be hurt anymore. To see that they are hurting others because they are hurt in themselves, and how can we, I don't know, just catch it early in a sense, just create, it's a hard subject to put words into, but just create these spaces where we can support people from falling into those narratives, into those programmings, into those stories. And so maybe there is a reason why it has come up so much, but also I want to highlight the fact that maybe it coming up so much, it seems like there's been kind of overuse of the word in some aspects, and certain people who actually aren't hurting others, who are doing what's good for themselves, who are setting boundaries, strong boundaries for themselves. And because there's such this idea, this programming of narcissism, narcissism, narcissism everywhere, people, begin to throw that label at others who are just standing in their truth and their power, and aren't hurting anybody, and aren't being mean to anybody. They're just like, I'm not going to stand for this. And, you know, I'm going to set a boundary, because I have seen that happen to others as well, where a person is setting a boundary and they're called a narcissist for doing so, but they're doing it out of self love for themselves, because they're feeling hurt or judged or whatever from this other person. And there's just, it's a whole, I guess this is a talk for another time, but it's just like
It's like, wow,
bringing in awareness of
I like
the
that.
fact that we have to soften a little bit of these words that are really being like,
Mhm.
it really thrown around a lot in these communities,
It is,
and
yeah,
that are
yeah.
disempowering people who really are not disempowered, but it is creating further separation in a sense. It's causing just further separation. The more labels we add to all of this, the more separation there is. When in all reality, we just need to see this and be like, okay, well, what can we do to try to help bring more love into the world, so people can feel loved, so that they can soften and begin to start their journey of opening up and becoming more vulnerable if they are able to, just creating spaces of interconnectedness.
I just feel, I gotta segue into this. I feel for that does for me keep going back to I trust you, trust in yourself. I trust me, trusting myself. And that in that space with a lot of allowing, a lot of allowing, a lot of allowing. I trust you, trust in yourself. I trust me, trusting myself. And allow. I trust you, trusting yourself. I trust me, trusting myself. Allow. Is
And flow.
There's thank you for adding the flow. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Unfolding.
Allow those walks to be the walks they are for all,
Yes.
which actually I guess already just inherently is. We're just raising, or I guess I'm just looking at saying these words in order to sharing the observations in space that, these observations may be helpful,
Yes.
to those that are drawn to notice the observations, which I guess is,
Exactly. To noticing the noticings. And there was one
yeah,
other thing. Sometimes we do have these people in our life who are the true narcissist, right? The hurt, or should I say, okay, maybe not use that word, the hurt people who hurt and
hurt
now are
people hurt
hurting
people.
others. Yeah, the
Yeah.
hurt people who are hurting others, that maybe we come across these people in our lives because they are, in a sense, a way for us to learn from, of this is not how I want to be. This is who I
Oh,
do
there's no
not want to
maybe.
be. And then also the knowing, and maybe it's teaching you how to set your own boundaries, how to be strong in knowing who you are and knowing, your own truth without letting that hurt person tell you a story that is not who you are, putting this story onto you that is not who you are at all. And so, there's a lesson in it of learning how to be stronger in our self sovereignty in relation to these people as well. And so sometimes these people do come into our lives to teach us how to be stronger in ourselves and knowing thyself and truly knowing thyself and knowing who we really are. Mm.
I'm feeling the space of just being real for a moment and just saying, like, I had a question in my brain for a while there of like, wow, we've gone into a direction that I'm like, wow, we're, and I don't know, I was like, whoa. But then I realized, how does this conversational direction apply? And I realized to myself, I don't usually speak about this, to be honest, but I've lived an experience where, honestly, mental, emotional health, there was I don't know, just that same dynamic of the codependency, interdependency, navigating that path of all of this and what we're talking about. It that's part of the medical system,
It
right?
is, Nathan,
Right.
I
That
just
is
want to
part
say
of the
one
medical
thing.
system.
While we were both silent for a moment, I was feeling the same thing of how does
No,
this apply to the medical system? I just wanted to mention that real quick. So we were
it
once
definitely
again,
applied.
yes, we were once again in that same flow of how does this apply? How does this
I
apply?
mean,
And then you began to bring it together
just
beautifully. And
a very personal story I'm going to share for a moment here, my dear
yes,
friend,
yes.
that had experience with someone in my life that many times throughout our experience together, and from what I've understood, still continues experiencing the dynamic around the mental health we'll call it the system, 72-hour holds. 72-hour medical holds, and after going to ERs after, really tough mental health days and things, right? I'm just softening the language around it because it's hard to explain at this point
Yes.
with this, so, but I had this moment when there was a shooting in Minneapolis recently at the Catholic school, when they were doing an interview around, or a press conference, and were mentioning the red flag laws. And they made a statement: there's no history of commitment, therefore there was no red flag. Dot dot dot. This amazing, wonderful person in my past that I've experienced this experience of, it can be really intense, and really extreme things can be, like the dynamic of, you have to go to a hospital, have them determine if that person is a danger to themselves or others. That person knows well enough about the system to go to that 72 hours and get their shit together to make sure that that place does not believe that they are a harm to themselves or others. Always, from my experience. I am not a fan of anything that bends the wills of others. I'm not advocating for commitment. But if that's the bar for red flag laws with firearms, what the fuck, dude? Because the system that uses that's maybe one of the steps that may help someone. I don't even know if it would help, but in this specific situation, but maybe it would. I don't know. But to get to that level of, there's a lot of history of patterns that if there's a system that at least took all that data collectively and looked through the data, that maybe there could be something that could be done with the system to support that person. I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to do it without bending the will of that person who definitely does not believe they have any. I mean, there's an inherent belief that I have no problem. There's nothing I need to work on. There's nothing I need to work on. But it's a pattern. There's definitely been threats made towards others verbally that I experienced, that I was aware of. There's definitely been threats that said person made about themselves many times, but the system has no fucking idea about that. So if that person, if I found out that person had a firearm, I'd be extremely cautious, right? So I'm not trying to bring up shooting subjects, but I'm just trying to say, in context of our conversation of the interdependence, codependence in the medical system. And now, and that's another version, that's another space of that, wow, like
It's
a whole nother
very,
space.
it
Because it's
is.
all, our mental, emotional health and our physical health are completely symbiotic. It's a symbiotic. Everything symbiotic. Should I
It's
explain that word?
It's holistic. Yes, it's the
Yeah.
whole system, every aspect of it. And
Yeah.
this is where that interconnectedness of community and support can come in, and where we don't just only rely on the westernized medical systems to determine whether a person is fit or healthy enough to, I guess in this instance, carry a firearm. It's like, this is where we need to have these spaces of community and or some sort of support system where a person can, you know yeah, okay, so this is what I'm seeing when I began to get to know more of the Native Americans in Arizona. What they would do, and they often still do, is hold circles, fire circles, where they all stand together in community and speak what is on their mind, what is on their heart. If they are so feel called to, they're not forced to, but if they feel called to, they're able to speak that into the fire, and the community will support them. They will drum, they will dance, and they will, cheer for them for having been vulnerable enough to have shared it, and they will hug them, and then, you just give it to the fire, and that inspires others as they see this community support to begin to open up of, I've been having these feelings, I've been dealing with these addictions, I've been dealing with, feeling thoughts of this and this and this, things that can be very personal, and it allows an opening up of vulnerability in these spaces. And so it's like,
Right.
how can we bring, something like that into these in between spaces where people like the person you're speaking of fall through the crack? It's like, how can we create these communal spaces where people can go and find a non-judgmental and supportive community outlet, a support system where they can be a part of, as a group, and be loved and supported no matter how they feel, no matter what they express, and still be able to be seen that they are still human, and it's okay to have these feelings, and that they are strong in being vulnerable enough to share what is truly on their hearts. Because, oftentimes it's like when we suppress, you know, those feelings of what we really want to do, right? Or try to keep it to ourselves. Sometimes that's when that final happens, the final explosion happens, and a shooting or something worse can happen, and oftentimes it's because these people are lacking a real support system of unconditional love that is separate from the Western, more of the traditional systems, I guess, more of the ancient traditional systems. It's lacking of that. And so it's like, this is where we need to, I guess, look at that interdependence of bringing it all together in some sense, where it's like, okay, you are showing some signs that are a little concerning. Here are some potential, outlets where you can go outside of this, of the medical setting, maybe meet some people who are having similar experiences. I guess they do have some of these, maybe like AA and all of that. And I've seen really positive experiences from people who have gone to AA, but maybe finding ways to where we can create more communal spaces in all of these sort of spaces of mental health, and not just for like only specific needs, because like in AA, it's for just like alcohol and drugs, Um, I don't know.
It's also compartmentalized, and none of the okay. It's also compartmentalized and in lots of separate. Which
Yes.
I guess is
Very,
one of the elements of what feels to me our experience here is to live this experience of we're not God. Right, we're not in this in our human lives, or we're not living, we're not gods, right? We can't do all of it. We can't do everything. We can't do all of it, right? So those compartments are necessary. And I do love the energy of compartmentalizing spaces for me to allow the peace of that one thing. Like one of my favorite statements is everything is just one thing. I think that was a line from The Alchemist book. Beautiful, amazing book. If anyone looking for a book to read, that's one of the best books I've ever read. Everything is just one thing. So compartmentalizing is important to help us simple beings or simple humans to experience that in tandem with knowing that our experience of that one thing also is is in context of it all, of
yes.
everyone around us, all of it around us. And I love what you described with that indigenous community around feeling like, yeah, maybe those are spaces that in the context of these mental health subjects especially, at least provide a whole community to either be like, we're here, we support you, whatever, but also be that whole community like, we support you by telling you, all right, enough. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
enough. like the hard love element, but sort of a
Yes,
allowing that community group, like coming from that heart love energy of just being like, all of us love you deeply, and we all just want you to know that we are all feeling enough. Okay, enough.
yes, yes.
You
That
know, not,
intertwines with it. That intertwines with
yeah,
it to where it's like, okay,
enough of
yes,
the
we're
negative
here just,
patterns that you
yeah,
insist on living and doing and repeating for whatever that means. And, we'll support you in any way that you're willing to step towards support. We're here.
yes. We
And the
support
systems
you,
we
but
are, yeah, and the
we
systems we
support,
are
oh,
pushed
sorry.
into don't allow for that energy. It's really more protect yourself, protect yourself, protect yourself,
Yes.
which, yeah, but
It's like a space where you get that kind of support without the judgment. You get that
yeah,
support in unconditional love where you can get it
right.
to where it's like, hey, we are noticing that there is a pattern happening here. And, we are here to support you and love you through it. And we do not judge you for it, but we do want to step in and give a little bit of that hard love and say, hey, you
Mhm.
do really need some help here. How can we help you? What can we do to help further support you in your journey of healing this, of, really helping to release this pain that is within you, or finding other ways to cope with it in healthier ways? What can we do to help you in this? That is so very important because, yes, sometimes even in these spaces where, people are vulnerable and share, their vulnerability, it still may not always be everything that somebody needs. They still may need that extra, hey, you really do need a little extra help in this. So let us help you. We'll be with you. We'll be by your side. We will support you through this and love you through this, but you do need a little extra help in this aspect, but we will be here with you through it, or at least through it. We will be here when you need us. I hope I worded that in the way that I was feeling it.
However you ordered it will feel perfect for all those that receive it and the way they receive it. You know what
You're
I'm saying?
right. You're
So,
right. I guess I just felt that for a moment just because I know this is a sort of tough subject. So there's a little bit of wanting to make sure, I'm going to say it as I feel it. I'm going to
yeah,
trust in what I am saying will be
thank
received
you.
by those who understand and who do receive it. I will trust it. I will trust it.
Thank you for trusting yourself. Seriously. I trust you, trust in yourself, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And me too. I trust you
Yeah.
in trusting yourself as well, Nathan. And thank you
Thank
for all of your
thank you.
support as well in so many ways. Mm,
I'm feeling and I'm not, I'm feeling like a resolve has sort of set in to the space as far as, yeah, I'm just feeling like a resolve energy. It's beautiful.
mm,
Around all we said, all we talked about, how it all intertwined and all the energies of it and how it all intermingles and flows and how we just came to this. I trust you, trusting yourself and sharing this beautiful moment of trusting each other in context. What a beautiful resolve point. Just like, oh,
mm.
and allowing in that space the grace, the reverence, the forgiveness, forgiveness of ourselves, forgiveness for others, and the trust.
And the love. Yes. I feel I feel that we're at a point where we have said all we can say in this moment, and that there may be additions to this story, or to this narrative, I should say, this space.
Experience. I want to say
Yes.
experience
This
or space.
experience.
Yeah,
Yes.
we both.
And I would really love to continue to talk about this again, should it call, should other things come up as we process and integrate what we have spoken of. But I am feeling this feeling of all that has needed to be said has been said, at least from my, what
Yeah,
I'm feeling
ditto.
for me.
Yeah, ditto. Because yeah, I could say when we take the moment of pause and check in, and I like to allow for that because I feel like that space of the pause and the checking in allows for okay, if there is a next, the next will just show instead of forcing a next to happen.
Mm,
And I don't feel a next right now when I pause, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful place, to be honest.
yes, yes.
In
And
the
it's
space
funny
of
because it's funny, I was sensing you were sensing the same thing that I was sensing. I just love that. I love
that's how
that.
this shiz works. That's how this shiz works. It's beautiful.
Being sovereign in a unified field.
Supporting interdependence.
Yes. While
I'm surprised.
supporting interdependence, for sure, for sure, for sure.
So amazing.
Beautiful. Oh my goodness, my heart is so expanded, and I am just feeling so much love, so much love. I just feel this rippling effect happening just from this conversation having happened. And I just feel just support,
Do you want
support.
to take a moment to share that energy of the support you're feeling with those that may be called to, may love to experience and feel, or at least tap into their own version while we are in this space? Share the space of the support
Mm.
of interdependence.
I just feel that in this moment to take time to connect to your heart and sit in silence and just really feel that love for self, the love within, and just opening the heart space. I just feel a connection of, that's like, there's no words to there's not a way to fully explain the energy that I'm feeling other than to connect to your heart. Feel that golden light within your heart, within your solar plexus, and just allow it to feel the energies that are rippling from this space that has been opened, the connection with the angels, with the JC, or with whatever faith or energy you resonate with, but ultimately just connecting to that space of the heart and seeing how this energy feels and resonates with you in your spaces and your experiences, and how maybe you can go forward in supporting not only yourself, but finding ways to bring more support into our community spaces, our immediate community spaces as well, and asking for guidance when one needs guidance. And if you find yourself in a place where you're walking the line of the traditional and non-traditional, the ancient and the modern, that there is support out there, and you can find it through people not only like us who are willing to talk about these situations, but also through research, knowledge, in connection to self, and to whatever brings you faith, whatever that faith is for you. You will always be guided in the direction you are meant to go. You will always align to where you are meant to go. Even in these moments where we may feel confused, just know that confusion is simply just a redirection to putting you back, to putting you in the right place at the right time. Just ask for guidance. You are supported from the seen and the unseen. Pray and ask for guidance. Set intentions in whatever way you may that resonates for you. My ear began ringing.
Breath is all I've got left.
Yeah.
Just
Interesting.
breath. Thank you so much, Jasmine. Thank you. And thank you to everybody who joined us for this amazing, more than conversation. I was going to say, but for this amazing conversation, I'm like, well, it's more than a conversation. Holy crap.
Yes, it was. Yes.
Of course,
No,
me
there's
was
no
like, well, there's no
words.
more or less. There's no more or less. Then I'm like, okay, I can use the word more. I get fixated on the, wait, more? No, it was more than a conversation. I'm just going to let that be. That's true. That feels true to me. Thank you so much.
It really was. And I wanted to say, one nudge I am getting to saying is,
Please.
look up to the sky, for there is wisdom in the sky. There is wisdom in the song of the birds, for they sing the wisdom of the sky. Look up to the sky, look up to the sun, and you will always be guided by that voiceless wisdom within. Look up and you will find yours. You will find your guidance. Just look up. Just look up.
Voiceless wisdom. That's so, I love that. Voiceless wisdom. That is awesome. Brilliant. Fucking brilliant.
The interconnectedness of all.
Mm-hmm.
Of all that is. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Nathan.
I'm
Thank
going to hit stop on the recording, and thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much, Jasmine.
And
I
so
look
much
forward
gratitude.
all right. Amen. Okay, and stopping the recording. It's one of those moments. It's like, you ever been on a phone call with somebody? You're like, I don't feel like hanging up. Hang up. Wait. Who you? It's one of those you hang up first moments. No, you stop the recording first. No, you stop the recording. No, you stop the recording. It's been such an amazing hour. Thank you so much. And no, you stop the recording. Okay, here we go. I'm going to stop.
Okay.
Is nothing on the surf left and humbly house innocent of what harmless house is like.
Wait. Oh, wait, what? Oh. Are you still here? Huh. Oh, you can go. You can go. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. But you can go now. You can go now. But keep breathing, please. Please keep breathing. But you can go. Yeah. Thank you. Keep breathing.